Hi everyone, this is Dexter from the Trigger Finger Workshop, and we are going to do right now is we are going to paint the cloak of Cypher from the triumvirate of the Primarch, Lord of the Adeptus Astartes. And what we have here is Cypher himself. I have already painted the plasma pistol, but what we are going to highlight now is the cloak. The cloak, yes, that's a cloak. What I have done already is to do a primer of the gray primer and the internal body parts. I did a black what do you call this, a chaos black, and still a gray primer outside, and I have done basing it with sundry dust. As you can see from the box art, they have actually suggested some of the paint that we need to use for the cloak, which is based with sundry dust, then you shade with seraphim sapphire, and a layer with Ushabti bone. But we are going to try a different approach on this. We still have those basic colors that needed, which is the sundry dust. We have seraphim sapphire and sundry dust, seraphim sapphire, and Ushabti bone. But we are going to try to add some highlights colors on this. We are going to add what's this, screaming skull, and maybe we can try adding up a flayed one flesh for color transition and progression. And of course we have model color from Vallejo is white. I use white just to lighten the colors, lighten up the colors. And let's see what we are let's see and find out what's going to happen. So what we have done here is the cloak. I have done basing it with the sundry dust. It's like one layer of thin coat of sundry dust, but later on we are trying to do another layer, and we will try to put in Ushabti bone. But let's go on with sundry dust first. Of course, we are I'm using a Winsor and Newton #1 brush, which is like my one of my hardworking brush actually. And I have prepared here a wet palette, which is like a sponge with water and a layer of napkin or tissue, what do you call it, and there's a baking paper. So first of all, we need to shake sundry dust, just take a little bit of color from it, paint from it, let's put it here. I do have another camera for my palette, but yeah, pardon me for the resolution. It's just a webcam. So we just thin it down with water. Then we can go ahead and painting it. I would suggest thinning it down properly, because I find it sundry dust is a very thick color. Okay, let's see. Oh wait a minute. We just take out this box first, and so we can concentrate and focus on the cloak itself. Hold on, guys. Okay, there. So thin it down. We make sure you thin down properly. It's quite scary to do a sundry dust base layer, because sometimes it's too thick. So I'm just making sure everything is covered, everything is done properly. Question would be, can you go straight using Ushabti bone, since you have done priming it with a gray primer? I don't think so. It is I would not advise to do that, mostly because I don't think so the coverage will be that good later on when you do your color progression. Okay, so I purposely do some, those pits, those inner part, those are darker. I'm not so sure if you can see that in the camera, but let's see. Slowly, guys. There. Okay, what we are trying to achieve here is is to highlight those layers, this part of it, to highlight and to make those inner part darker. And since this is a cloak which is like heavily used, so we would like to add effect on it that is really like it's worn out. So let's go ahead, try to make sure those there are parts here that you need to make sure that is based with sundry dust, because later on you will have issues when you want to do the highlights. So I would guess it's really a must to do this. Okay, now we are at this part. So I think the process or the step on doing this cloak is sundry dust, then later on you could do an Ushabti, then you just wash it with Seraphim Sepia. So let's go ahead and try that. yeah, the internal inner part of the cloak is color, let me see, it's red, so it must be Mephiston red, or base it with corn red, progression with Mephiston, then Evil Sons. So let's just try for now the outer part, which is the Ushabti part. Okay, hold on guys. Okay, now I think, oh, there are, let's see, the head part is, it still needs, okay, I think, oops, I think it's pretty covered. Okay, those okay, I'm not so sure if you could see it on the camera, but there are parts that is, you could still see the black primer, which I sprayed, which I airbrush at the lower part, because what we are trying to achieve here is darker on the lower part and lighter at the upper part. So I think this will do. Then we can go ahead with our Ushabti bone. Oh, there. Of course, Ushabti bone, I do have, like, for me this is the most difficult color. Not being particular with applying it, it's maintaining it and keeping it. I find it Ushabti is quite sensitive to temperature, or if you don't use him quite often, or if you just let him sit quietly in one of those paint racks, then the day that if you want to use it, it's pretty dried up. So yeah, it's really challenging for me to keep and use this Ushabti bone. Anyway, what we have now is okay, let's see, we try to do the upper part first, thin layer. Okay, you don't need to worry about your paint going over some of the details on okay, I mean from his backpack. Yeah, okay, you don't need to worry about it, because later on there's another part that you need to attach on it or glue on it to basically finish his gear. So okay, from the part here, what's happening now is think we can try out not to paint the lower part with the Ushabti. It's just that from the middle part you need a very thin down color of Ushabti. Let's try it first. It's actually my first time to paint a Cypher. This Cypher is a project I'm doing for PR Miniatures here in Singapore. Of course, headed by Kevin Yo. Shoutouts to Kevin Yo. And there we try to make it. You don't actually need to rush it to like fully cover everything with Ushabti. Okay, now I'm trying to finish the top part first. As you can see from the lower part, I don't paint it with Ushabti. So I'm using a really thin, it's a really thin down Ushabti color. Okay, hold on guys, let's get some paint because it's too thin. You don't want it to be too watery because the paint won't stick properly, but you don't want it to be too thick because you're rushing the process, so we don't want to rush the process. For others, I think it's pretty easy to do the cloak, but I don't want to rush it. Like the quality is not there, so let's I'm still trying to adjust where I put my hands so it's centered in the from the camera. From here, although it's the middle part, actually there's a, what do you call it? It's like a sword, and there's a backpack from it. But I would still say paint it like for color transition sake, and from there. Okay, hold on for a while. So, I have already painted the Hold on, guys. Oh, what's up, Ease? Thanks for watching. Ease is one of my friends here in Singapore. He's actually a very good painter also. So he's one of the expert here. But let's go ahead and paint this. Okay, as you can see, the lower part is still on a sundry dust, and the upper part is slowly getting its Ushabti color. What's up, John Michael? Hello, sir. Hi to friends in the Philippines, and to all players of Age of Sigmar and 40k. Shoutouts to friends of Pinoy War Gamers. Hi guys. Okay, the head part. There's a lot of details here, so you need to slow down, and you don't want to paint everything in Ushabti, losing the shade and the effect of the folds of the cloak. So of course those okay, we are trying to achieve here is what we call the normal, the highlights that we are using is the zenith highlight, which is like the light is shining down, the sun is shining down on the model. So there will be details here. I'm not so sure if you can see this. Okay, how do I show you guys? Okay, there. Let's try there. So there are details here that I mean the folds. If you can do like if you can do highlights, if you can start your highlights on the folds, I think it's okay to do that. Yeah. Okay, maybe we can lower it down a bit. I mean the color transition from Ushabti, I mean from Sundry to Ushabti. Okay. Okay, hold on. Let's go and get some paints. But I think it's really obvious now where the Ushabti color is going and where the Sundry dust goes. So now we are adding up another layer, which is still Ushabti. Just need to check on which part is still not being highlighted by Ushabti. Then you can just double coat on it and double coat and make sure it's fully covered. Now the Ushabti color is starting to pop out more a little bit. There. I'm still using number 1 Winsor and Newton brush. Of course, you can still use whatever brush you are, used to, and whatever brush is available. Okay. There. Okay, we can do the color transition here. There. This is like a slow process of doing color progression. Forgive me, but I don't want to rush this. I just want to make it sure that the transition is correct and it's acceptable. So hold on. Okay. Ushabti, yeah. I think the color is too thin down, it's too watery. So, but you can still correct it, don't worry. Okay. It's too watery. There are actually a lot of techniques on doing cloaks. let's try this one. Maybe next time I can show you another technique. Hopefully we could still get a Cypher or another Cloak, another miniature figure with Cloak. I'm just following the lines where probably the lights will hit on the Cloak. So let's try to do a natural zenith light effect. The challenging part with Shabti is if you leave it, I mean it dries very fast on the palette, even though I'm using a wet palette. Okay, now you can see those highlights. Okay, later on the color transition will be a little bit smoother when we do our wash, or maybe not. Let's try to find out later. Honestly, it's the first time I'm painting this figure, so you just need to bear with me, guys. Alright, slow and steady stroke. You notice the brush, the tip of the brush, there will be like dried up paints, so make sure you clean it, because it will mess up the process if you don't clean it. Always check the tip of your brush, guys. You see, like this part, you see like some of the inner part, I don't color it with Ushabti because it should be darker. So we'll just leave the Sandri dust do his job on it. Okay, we just need to smoothen out the transition. Okay, this part. Check on the front part of the cloak. I think it should be okay. Let's try to add a little bit of layer on it. Top part. Alright, this is our second layer of Ushabti. Shall we go for a Seraphim wash? Or we can just go ahead and fully do a transition of colors without wash. Let's see. Okay, I think there's still a part here that actually still need push-outy. Oh, it's too watery. But later on we can do something about it, don't worry guys. I think it looks okay. Okay, then we try duo wash. Let's try to wait a little bit to dry the thing up. Okay. Of course, we have Seraphim wash. Seraphim high from the Seraphim Sapphire wash. Make sure you shake it well. Okay, the thing with wash, some of the guys I noticed that when they do wash, they just fully covered everything. Then later on, they will just clean it up with another layer. But what we can do now is to just put the wash on those pits from the cloak. We can just, I think it's also right to add a little bit on some of the areas where you can find Ushabti, but okay. There are like holes of like torn part and holes from the cloak. You can just put the Seraphim wash on it to basically make it pop out and notice there. There, then we can slowly do a stroke from these area. I'm just doing on those like deeper part of the cloak. Anyway, don't worry if it like, I mean, if you go over the higher part, later on we can still clean it. Okay. Now we don't want to like paint everything with Seraphim. We just leave it here. Mostly lower part, deeper part, those torn, to make the details pop out and be more recognized. So there. course still using the size 1 Winsor Newton brush. It's my workhorse mostly for some of the miniatures I'm painting. Oops. Oh, there. Just highlight, no, not highlight, wash it, wash it, guys. Oh, hi to my bro. Hi to my brother. Where are you now, bro? There. Surfing. It actually adds like those weathered effect on the cloak just by putting on the Seraphim Sapphire. You just need to be careful where to put it. So I mean, it's up to you to decide, but I would just put it on the lower part to make it look more weathered. Yeah. Although this is like a washed, you can control where the wash should flow so it doesn't mess up the details. I used to do wash like you fully covered everything and let the wash goes to those pits and fissure of the miniatures, but it takes more time to clean it, so if you can try to avoid it. Don't do it. It's so tedious to do that. So yeah, let's see, since this will be covered later, for sure it will be, and it should be the darker part, so you just put those wash color on it. Alright, then the upper part, the head part there. Okay, this part, of course, we do our wash also. Slowly try to control where the wash color will be flowing. You don't want to like do a pulling off the wash color in a specific part. Later on when it dries, it makes it too dark. It's a good, sometimes it ends up in a good way, but sometimes it messes up the colors, so be careful. so it's starting to look like more realistic. Okay, later. Okay, so you notice the end part of the cloak, you put those seraphim wash to make it look more weathered. I'm not a 40k player, so I'm not so sure who really this Cypher guy is. I know he's like one of those generals, powerful, with those powerful ability, but I'm really not so sure. I do have a 40k army, I haven't painted it. It's from the Tau Empire, of course, for the greater good. And I am a Age of Sigmar player. It's not that I'm complaining about it. Alright. Okay, let's see. Now it's more weathered. Okay. I think the lower part looks good. Now we can do highlights. We will what? We don't put Ushabti to highlight because it's already layered with Ushabti. What we can do now is do a screaming skull. I don't think we can put flayed one flesh, or maybe we can. How about we put on a little layer of flayed one flesh, then we go to screaming skull, then later on we will mix up a portion of screaming skull 50-50 with Vallejo white, and then later on we'll just line up a little bit of Vallejo white. I'm not so sure. Does it look good? Okay, it looks good. Looks good to me. Okay. The cloak looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and do a what? Okay, let's go ahead and try flayed one flesh. Make sure you shake it. Okay, next is the flayed one flesh collar. Just put a little bit on it, right? You don't want to waste paint. Of course, thin it down. Oh, I think it's too watery. Let's add a little bit more of the flayed one flesh color. Alright, let's go ahead. We are putting highlights on those, what do you call this? Sulcus? Sorry, I'm not so sure if you know that word. Or am I using the correct term for it? Never mind. Let's try to paint this. Alright, so we are doing Flayed One Flesh. Okay, from the sides. Let's do. It's really not too obvious from now. I mean, at this moment, because later on we are still doing a transition. Okay, so you can also clean up those part where you don't want the wash color to be. So you just clean it up with this color. Alright guys, let's do 10 seconds break. My dog wants to go out of the room. Hold on. Okay, let's go back to business. Clean the brush. This is the problem with these colors. If it dries up on the tip of your brush and then you apply it, it will mess up your figures. So be very careful on it. Okay. Next part is this. We are not painting. I mean, this video, I don't think so we can finish the figure. My goal here is just finish the cloak, and then later on we could go ahead and continue with the other parts. Okay. Good choice. I think we made a good choice of doing Flayed One Flesh for the color transition. Okay, let's see. Clean it up. You can clean the area where you don't want those wash color is, so you can slowly clean it up. There. Later on I'll take a photo and post it on my page. I'm not so sure if we're giving justice to the colors now, because we're using a camera. Okay, there. This is the challenging part. Let's go and clean this up slowly. Yeah, my wife is correct. Applying wash looks very simple, but trust me, it's not. Because sometimes she is helping me with some of the projects, teaching her how to paint. Alright, from this side, I think we can clean the brush again. We can add water again. Alright. It's too watery. Hold on. Let's load up again with paint. Flayed one flesh. We are still using flayed one flesh. Alright. From this side. Oops. Okay. Later on we will still clean it. I mean the tip we can still apply Seraphim wash. It's just I don't want to break the paint stroke. It will look too obvious, so I just like continue it. Alright, I think that's it. Oh, the head part. We forgot the head part, the most important part. Make sure you don't fully cover the first layer of Ushabti because you want to make the color transition effect, so you don't cover the Ushabti layer, everything. Make sure you still have those Ushabti color. Yep. Okay, next we can use now to add more highlight, Screaming Skull. But what we are going to do now is just do like small lines, just to make the edge of the cloak highlight. Next color. If you're looking at the paint palette side, okay, we have the Zandri, we have Ushabti, we have Flayed One Flesh, and now we are using Screaming Skull. Although it's a cloak, I mean, if you wanted to make it look nice, I would say do as much layer as you can. I mean, for color transition and color progression. not really obvious now. I mean, when you do your highlight later on, I mean from the photo, when we do the photo, those highlights will be more obvious. Alright. There. Just do highlights. Not cover everything. Just highlights. There. All right. So from this side. This side also. Okay, we forgot one part here. Let's go back to Flight 1 Flash. We clean it up with Flight 1 Flash. There. Clean it up. Although later on it will be covered, I think, from the other attachment that this figure has. I think to have those continuity effect of the colors, you don't stop where the attachments are. You go through everything to make it more realistic. Okay, the top part. Highlight, highlight, highlight. Highlight, highlight, guys. Alright. As you can see, my paintbrush. Oh, wait. Paintbrush. There. Paintbrush. The only color that has is the tip of the paintbrush. You don't want to go fully covered everything with paint. You don't want to kill your paintbrush, because the moment the paint goes until the where the end of the bristles are, if the paint goes through this side, I mean, it will die, meaning it's very difficult to clean it up. Let's use the word die, because if you're using an expensive paintbrush, I mean, your budget dies with it. So take care of the brush also. Okay, here. Okay, there. And the sides. Okay, let's go back to Flayed One Flesh. sorry. Flayed one flash. Flayed one flash. Flayed one flash. There. Because a while ago it's not cleaned up, so we are just cleaning up this side. Go back to the flayed one flash. Slowly. Don't rush it. Right, there are like part here where you need to highlight also. Still going back to the flayed one flash. I'm using Citadel paints, but I'm also using Vallejo paints. Basically those are the two paint brands I'm using. I haven't tried other paint brands yet. Okay, slowly. All right. Okay, I think we're about to finish this up with the layer of flayed one, and just line it up with white. The reason why I'm using Vallejo white is I find it that Citadel white is a bit difficult to manage. It becomes clumpy. I find it that it's too moody. I mean, you don't use him, he becomes clumpy. Okay, we have two highlights. There. Okay, next. What we do next is we do okay. Okay, this part later on there's attachments to it, so we don't paint it, but this part is, I think we still need to clean up a little bit. So we go back to flayed one flash again. Flayed one flash. Alright, okay, we try to clean up this part. Okay, make it there. And then we go back to a screaming skull. Oops. We can actually do an edge highlight on the lower part, but I don't think so. It would look nice, so we won't do an edge highlight. Let it be that way, so it looks weathered. And then what we can do now is we need to double check on parts that should be highlighted, right? Okay. There. Okay, this part we can do an edge highlight since it's the upper part, but the lower part I don't think so we can do a edge highlight. So let's go and do this. Later on we will still add another edge highlight color. So slowly do, you don't want to hit his face, right there. Oops, there, right. Okay, hold on. I need to clean my brush. Okay, next is, what's next? We can put a drop of white, which is the model color Vallejo Blanco white, 70.951. Alright, just a small drop. Okay, from the paint palette, now you can see it gives you a clue on what was the color progression and transition like. Okay, but what we are going to do, we don't go immediately to highlight, do a edge highlight or using white. We mix it with the Screaming Skull. Screaming Skull with, okay, so it's like a 50-50 ratio, but I mean it's not really accurate. You can just see it. Okay, go ahead. So highlight, edge highlight. The trick with edge highlight is to make it as thin as possible. I mean, even this part, I know it will be later on covered with the attachment, but we still go ahead and paint it. It's for color continuity's sake. Okay, this part will be quite a tough one, but let's go ahead and tackle it. Don't be scared. Right. There. Right. Mix. Right, hold on guys. Okay, another technique on this is to dry brush, but I don't really recommend doing dry brush on it. So we tackle every detail. We go through every detail, make sure everything is covered and highlighted. This part. Alright, I think we're good with this. I mean, we're done with this outer part of the cloak. We could still do some cleaning of it. Maybe later I check if we still need to do some cleaning. But I think most part of it is done. I mean, I think I have shared how to go about the cloak. Okay, we just need to do a review on what color has been used. Okay, I primed it with a gray primer from Vallejo airbrush primer. Then I base it with sun-treated dust and do a color progression. We have used Ushabti bone. We have used a flayed one flesh and a screaming skull. Highlighted with a 50-50 ratio of Vallejo model color white and screaming skull. Of course, we also use the Seraphim wash on the lower part and some of the deeper part of the cloak, so to make it more weathered and realistic effect. Okay. Next video we are doing the inner part, the body, I think. We see how it goes. Okay. What else? We will also do the face and to complete everything. Okay, so please click like and share the page, which is the Triga Finger Workshop, and please do share the video please do like the photos I will be posting. I will do I will take photo of this. I think from the video it's some of the details is not being highlighted, so I'll take a photo, then I will post this on the web page, and hope that you could share this to your friends. So the next video we have more and more people that will be watching the live stream. Okay, until then, I thank you guys, and see you on the next video streaming. Thank you and bye.